Diddy's family is by his side as he appears in court, as the music mogul faces charges of racketeering, trafficking by force, fraud or coercion, and transportation to engage in prostitution, all of which he has pleaded not guilty to. Diddy's mom, Janice Combs, sons Quincy, Justin, and Christian, as well as 18-year-old daughter Chance and 17-year-old twins Delilah and Jessie,
Pray to the Most High Jesus Christ. Pray to God. Pray to God. Seek His face, like He said.
How has it been inside court?
Seek His face. Seek His face. Turn to God. Turn to Him.
Didn't know that your wife
Did
got
this.
urinated on and then found this out in court.
It's a lot.
Hey, could you handle that?
But let me tell you, not only because he had left, he was in the back of the court and then he went. I think they took up to like a back room. But the girl, you know,
Diddy's
all the
kids.
Diddy kids are there, right? So his daughters are there. I was sitting behind them. It was awkward for me to watch them have to listen to all of this. They, after he started, the male Esther started getting into a lot of the masturbation and stuff. They got up and left.
Who told him to leave? Did Diddy say leave or?
No, Diddy didn't tell them to leave. I don't know if there was a conversation or not. I looked up from writing and I saw them get up, so I don't know. But I know that they were like checking on each other throughout. I saw them ask like Christian at one point, like, "You okay?" Because
Sean P. Diddy Combs' family arrived for day one of his trial.
How is your father feeling today?
They walked into the federal courthouse in Manhattan, hand in hand, in a gesture of solidarity.
Diddy watched and pleasured himself. Baby oil all over each other. Diddy complained, not enough baby oil. He was obsessed with the baby oil. That Diddy's daughters, again, this is per law and crime, left the room, the courtroom when this testimony was being given. They didn't want to hear this about their father. His sons stayed.
Twice during Philip's testimony per People magazine, Diddy's three daughters, Chance, Delilah, and Jessie, left the courtroom. One of the occasions was during his testimony for May 12th, where Philip alleged around 2012 or 2013 he had been given, quote, a few $1,000s to have sex with Cassie while Combs watched.
All right, y'all. This courtroom moment had the whole room holding its breath. And yes, this tea is scorching. So picture this. Diddy's daughters, Chance, Delilah, and Jessie, showing up in court to support their dad. But the second things got graphic, boom, they were out. Cameras caught them walking out mid-testimony after a male escort started spilling some seriously disturbing details about Diddy and his ex Cassie. We're talking freak-off parties, baby oil, and way too much for anyone, especially his kids, to sit through. And trust me, it wasn't a fluke. According to reports, this was the second time they dipped out during explosive testimony. And honestly, can you blame them? With every day, this trial is exposing more layers, and Diddy's family is caught in the crossfire. Fame, scandal, and a courtroom full of secrets? You know we're watching every second.
It was a family affair inside the courtroom. Diddy entered the court wearing a white shirt and a casual crew neck sweater. He faced his mom and his kids and placed his hand on his heart, made a symbol of the heart with his fingers, and blew them a kiss.
Joining me now is one of tonight's A-list presenters. It's Sean Diddy Combs with his stunningly beautiful daughter, Chance Combs. Mr. Combs, is this not the perfect father-daughter date night?
I'm speechless. I am speechless. Baby, you look so beautiful. So beautiful. She's a future actress. Her name is Chance Combs. Chance, you tell her.
Yes, I'm an aspiring actress, and it's my first time at the Oscars, so I'm really excited to be here. Yeah.
Incredible, incredible.
The legal instructions between disgusting, filthy, pervert, cad, and criminal. That's really what this trial is about. I think even the defense cedes point one. They have to. There won't be a juror in that room that can stand Sean Combs.
What does family mean to you?
Everything is my tribe.
Can you name your kids from oldest to youngest?
Quincy, Justin, Christian, Chance, Delilah, and Jessie.
Okay. How do you tell your twin daughters apart?
Just that parental instinct.
Okay, so here's what's going down in the courtroom drama of the year. Yes, we're talking about Sean Diddy Combs. Diddy's not showing up to court alone. His whole crew is here. His mom Janice is holding it down, and his kids, Quincy, Justin, Christian, Chance, and the twins, Delilah and Jessie, Yep, they've all been showing up, front row seats to the chaos. It's giving family loyalty under fire.
What's one thing you want for your kids?
Oh, peace, happiness, love. I want it all for my kids.
Who's your biggest
money?
Who's your biggest inspiration?
And this kid right here, my son.
Christian.
How you?
The third son.
Oh, good to see you. How fresh he is, little fresh mini me. See, comfy, cozy tape. Man, go put your sneakers up, man. Come on.
I got you. I'm sorry.
Now here's where things get dark real fast. The charges? We're talking racketeering, exploitation, using force or manipulation, and allegedly flying people around for intimate performances. And Diddy? He's saying not guilty across the board. But the tea starts really boiling once Cassie, his ex-girlfriend, and a male escort named Daniel Phillip took the stand. And let me tell you, their testimonies were graphic. They talked about their intimate encounters with Diddy, and things got so intense, his daughters had to step out twice. Imagine the tension. One moment that really shook the courtroom, Daniel Phillip claimed he was paid a few $1,000s back in 2012 or 2013 to sleep with Cassie, while Diddy just stood there and watched. He described how they rubbed baby oil on each other while Diddy allegedly got off to it. It was a lot. And just when you think it couldn't get messier, the prosecution rolled the tapes. Literally, showing one moment when Diddy was attacking Cassie. His daughters and his mom stayed in the room, but didn't watch the screen. His sons? Yeah, they watched everything.
Didn't know that your wife
Did
got
this.
urinated on and then found this out in court.
It's a lot.
Could you handle that?
But let me tell you, not only because he had left, he was in the back of the court and then he went. I think they took up to like a back room. But the you know,
Diddy's
all the
kids.
Diddy kids are there, right? So his daughters are there. I was sitting behind them. It was awkward for me to watch them have to listen to all of this. They after he started the male escort started getting into a lot of the masturbation and stuff. They got up and left.
Who told him to leave? Did Diddy say leave or?
No, Diddy didn't tell them to leave. I don't know if there was a conversation or not. I looked up from writing and I saw them get up, so I don't know. But I know that they were like checking on each other throughout. I saw them ask like Christian at one point, like, "You okay?" Because
export business. Cassie and Daniel had sex. He was getting paid for Daniel was. Diddy watched and pleasured himself. Baby oil all over each other. Diddy complained, not enough baby oil. He was obsessed with the baby oil. That Diddy's daughters, again, this is per long crime, left the courtroom when this testimony was being given. They didn't want to hear this about their father. His son stayed. That no protection was used. That Cassie messaged him after the fact forgive me, but that it happened multiple times over 2013 and 2014. He saw Diddy physically Cassie, or at least heard him slapping her behind closed doors. Diddy would direct the saying, slow down, finish off, if you will, here or there on her body. Cassie wanted him to urinate on her. And then I saw another report saying Diddy instructed him to urinate in her mouth. Forgive me, this is very tawdry stuff.
Then came Cassie's own testimony, and she did not hold back. She said the attack happened after she tried to leave one of these so-called freak-offs. If you're wondering what that means, buckle up. These were allegedly wild, days-long intimate parties arranged by Diddy, often including Cassie and a male adult worker. She said whenever she tried to walk away, he would follow her, push her down, kick her, drag her back inside, and take her stuff. Let that sink in.
Cassie Ventura has officially up her testimony in Sean Diddy Combs' racketeering trial after nearly 20 hours on the stand. Her account included graphic details of alleged and coercion, but the defense, particularly today, pushed back with texts, audio, and claimed she was a willing participant in their so-called freak-offs.
By the end of her testimony, Cassie was in tears. She said if she had never been involved in one of those freak-offs, she would have had control over her own life. She would have had her agency, her autonomy. And now, her words are out there, officially part of the court record. The trial isn't over, but one thing is clear. The spotlight on Diddy has never been harsher, and the stories coming out are disturbing, emotional, and impossible to ignore. So here's the backstory. Cassie and Diddy, they go way back. Their relationship started in the mid-2000s, when Cassie was just 19 and Diddy was 36. Not only were they romantically involved, but she was also working with him at the time, a double bond that ended up being way more twisted than anyone knew.
The star witness is Cassie. She was a singer, Cassie Ventura. She signed with him when she was 18 years old, or right around there. She became a singer. She signed like a 10-record deal with Bad Boy Records, which is his. And within like 2 years, he started having with her. And he was with a different woman at the time, but shockingly, he wasn't faithful, and started sleeping with Cassie.
Now, fast forward to the courtroom. Cassie's been accusing Diddy of forcing her into these disturbing, substance-fueled freak-offs. These weren't just parties. They were allegedly organized intimate marathons, and Cassie says she was coerced into them. But Diddy's defense team? Oh, they tried it. On May 15th, they came through with emails and texts from their early days together, trying to flip the script. According to them, Cassie wanted more attention and even told Diddy she loved him. Their message? That she was in control, not a victim. But let's be real. Text messages don't erase trauma. Diddy, now 55, was arrested in September 2024. The charges? Exploitation, racketeering, and transporting people for the rough trade. He's pled not guilty to everything, but the court and the public are hearing a very different story. After her week of intense emotional testimony, Cassie couldn't just walk away quietly. Her lawyer, Douglas Wigdor, read a statement outside the courthouse. Cassie said the week had been tough, but also healing. She hopes her voice gives strength to other survivors. And this part, she said the more she heals, the more she remembers. And the more she remembers, the more she'll never forget. Cassie's now pregnant with her third child, and she made it clear she's ready to close this chapter and focus on her family. She ended by asking for privacy as she moves forward with her pregnancy and her life. But wait, there's more tea. Dawn Richard, who you might remember from Danity Kane and Diddy Dirty Money, came through with a jaw-dropping testimony of her own. She said she actually saw Diddy attack Cassie. It happened in the kitchen at his Los Angeles home. Cassie was just making eggs when Diddy stormed in yelling about his breakfast. He was reportedly furious, accused her of messing everything up, and then, get this, he grabbed the skillet she was using and tried to hit her with it. According to Dawn, Cassie dropped to the floor in the fetal position just trying to protect her face. And it didn't stop there. Dawn said Diddy dragged Cassie upstairs by her hair. Then came the sounds of breaking glass and more screaming. It was chaos. When Dawn confronted him, Diddy brushed it off like it was just passion. He told her Cassie was fine, and then, as if that wasn't chilling enough, he added something that stuck with her. Where he comes from, people go missing if they talk. Yeah, he said that. So, if anyone thought this trial was just about the past, it's not. These testimonies are exposing what went on behind the scenes for years, and the world's watching.
The more likely they're going to argue in the deliberation room, and that's exactly what the defense wants.
Diddy's defense attorney told him to stand and face the jury. She introduced him as plain Sean Combs.
First of all, I gotta say, before you came out to do your hit, there was a little bit of commotion out there. Basically, there's a lot of people watching this case. There's a lot of people outside that courthouse. Can you briefly explain to us what the atmosphere is like, both inside and outside the courtroom? It feels like that is the scene. That's the epicenter right now.
Absolutely. And, look, there's been a lot of public interest in this case, not just from us in the media, but also those who just either want to get a glimpse of Diddy himself, want to get a glimpse of Diddy's family. And so there is never, just not enough people from the public who are here outside that courtroom. When I came outside today just to chat with you, Jessie, I walked outside and all of a sudden I saw a woman with kind of hair extensions in her hair. She was yelling back and forth with a man. A man was yelling at her. It was pretty tense. I didn't know kind of what was going on, but a lot of people were crowding around them. I walk across the street and all I see are free Diddy t-shirts, which is very surprising, something I didn't see when I entered the courtroom this morning, but that was very early this morning, so maybe a lot of people were realizing it's a Friday.
Okay, so buckle up. Because what happened in court next? It was awkward and a little shady too. Dawn Richard, yes, that Dawn from Danity Kane, took the stand. When the prosecutor asked what she called Diddy, she casually said, "I called him Puff." Then the prosecutor tried to go with it, saying, "I'll call him Puff for clarity." But the judge wasn't having it. He cut in like, "Nope, we're calling him Sean Combs." You could practically hear the courtroom cringe. Now let's talk about what investigators found when Diddy got arrested, because it was quite the scene. Homeland Security agent Yazin Binda testified about what was inside the hotel room at the Park Hyatt in New York City when he was arrested last September. Here are the details. A plastic bag full of Johnson & Johnson baby oil, 5 bottles of baby oil and lube just chilling on the bathtub floor, a Louis Vuitton bag with a prescription for clonazepam under the alias Frank Black, 2 more bottles of lube in one nightstand drawer, a bottle of pills and 2 plastic bags in the other drawer. One tested positive for ketamine. The other had a mix of ketamine and MDMA. A fanny pack hanging off the bed with $9,000 in cash. A bunch of cell phones, including ones linked to his right hand, Christina KK Courtroom.
The arrest happened just in this past September, and so we got a kind of inside look into what all was in the Park Hyatt Hotel right here in Manhattan. And so we saw a lot of exhibits and a lot of notable exhibits, I will say that. And so the warrant was executed around 11:30 p.m. that day, and this happened on September 16th of 2024, a notable date. That's the date that Diddy got arrested. And so her role was essentially to be a photographer. So she photographed the entire hotel room. So we saw a bunch of exhibits. We saw exhibits of the room layout where you can see a bed, a TV window, a desk, a hallway closet. You saw a closer image of the bedroom and the bathroom closet. You saw the hallway closet. You saw a bag at the bottom of a closet. You saw a hard drive. You saw, more interesting, a Ziploc bag of, you may guess it, Jessie, baby oil and Astroglide, something that a lot of us were just like, whoa, because this is coming right after Cassie's testimony. Diddy's defense team is trying to paint him out as somebody who just kind of left the freak offs behind, left the behind, but then you're seeing that as recently as just this past September, he had a bag full of baby oil, 5 bottles of it found in the bathtub, Astroglide in the lube in the bathtub. Then you see a nightstand. It had a Louis Vuitton bag, a Louis Vuitton med bag, something that Cassie had talked about during her testimony. And I think the government really did a great job in kind of presenting this after Cassie's testimony, because I think once we saw the baby oil, we were just like, whoa, because again, this was very recently. And so we saw clonazepam given to an alias, Frank Black, somebody that Cassie had talked about while she was on the witness stand. It was one of the aliases that Diddy had used when he was booking hotel rooms or getting escorts and that sort. What is clonazepam? I believe it's an ED medication. Then we see lube in the drawer of a nightstand. More baby oil is found. You see a nightstand with a red iPhone. That iPhone was seized as well as a phone that was on Christina Courtroom's person.
Yeah, that's not just a mess, that's a whole situation. Now here's where things got heartbreaking. During redirect, the prosecution asked Cassie about the lawsuit and the $20 million settlement she got from Diddy. They asked her point blank, would you give that money back if it meant you never had to go through those freak-offs? Cassie didn't even hesitate. Through tears, she said yes. She'd trade the money to erase that trauma. She said she would have had agency and autonomy if it never happened. She wouldn't have to work so hard now just to get it back. Then came the heaviest moment of all. The prosecutor asked her what it felt like being maltreated by Combs during those encounters, or having an escort degrade her in ways no one should ever experience. Cassie, breaking down, still found the strength to answer. At first, the prosecutor just said, you can continue. You can go on. But when the question came again, she let the truth spill out. She felt worthless, like dirt, like she didn't matter, like she was nothing, absolutely nothing. And that's what this case is revealing, layer by layer. Beyond the fame, beyond the money, beyond the music, there are stories of trauma and control that were hidden for far too long. So let's talk about one of the most intense moments from Cassie's testimony. While explaining what went down during those so-called freak-offs, Cassie said Diddy would actually take business calls in the middle of everything. Yep, just casually multitasking like it was no big deal. According to her, it happened every single time. She said he even canceled work meetings for these sessions. Cassie, she was expected to drop everything unless she was told to show up for something else. Then the conversation got even more real. The prosecutor asked her why she couldn't just cancel her stuff like Diddy did. Cassie said it was because she had a whole other job. When asked what that was, she dropped the bomb. Basically, an adult worker. But right as the courtroom got dead silent, Diddy's lawyer jumped in with an objection, and the judge sustained it. That meant the jury isn't allowed to consider that part of her testimony, but you know the room felt that.
Before we get the legal instructions between disgusting, filthy, pervert, cad, asshole, and criminal. That's really what this trial is about. I think even the defense cedes point one. They have to. They have to. There won't be a juror in that room that can stand Sean Combs.
Later, when Cassie was asked if she believed Diddy when he claimed he couldn't remember hurting her, she didn't sugarcoat it. No, not every time, she said. And when asked why, she simply said, because I know him. She said there were times when he knew exactly what he was doing, and that's just who he was. According to her, she'd seen him be harsh with others too. She said she recognized it because she'd been around it. Now, of course, Diddy's legal team tried flipping the script again. They brought up Cassie's finances, suggesting that her lawsuit was about money, not justice. They pointed out that in 2023, Cassie and her husband, Alex Fine, had moved in with a family in Connecticut and were relying mostly on his work as a personal trainer. But Cassie shut that down quick. She said the move wasn't about money.
Cassie Ventura and husband of 6 years, Alex Fine, share an emotional embrace in this resurfaced video. The moment recorded in 2019, right after he finished a 50-mile run to benefit domestic victims.
I think the little things count more than the big things sometimes. I want to be a mother, and I want to be motherly. It would be somebody that's good with kids, I guess. I grew up, it was just me and my brother. I think 2 is good.
Then they tried to corner her about canceling her music tour in Australia and New Zealand after settling that $20 million lawsuit against Diddy. The lawyer threw shade, saying, "You didn't need the tour anymore. Is that right?" Cassie, straight-faced, that wasn't the reason why. And then came the receipts. The defense pulled up one of Cassie's Instagram posts from May 2024. In the post, she thanked fans for their support and ended it with, "Domestic maltreatment is the issue."
I'm more and more believing it's likely. And that's because watching, for example, the cross-examination of the star witness has been, I think, kind of underwhelming. I that they'd have more, and I thought that they'd be a little bit more skilled, but instead they seem to be all over the board, the defense counsel, on trying to just score points with her. And they're clearly, I get it, trying to prove that she consented to some of this behavior. Okay? You need to prove that she consented to all of it. That's the truth. I mean, more accurately stated, the prosecution needs to prove that there were at least some of these encounters, so-called freak-offs, that were not consensual on her part. And I think they're doing it.
When they asked if she still stood by that, she didn't hesitate. "Yeah," Cassie said, "I do." And that's the vibe in court right now. Diddy's team is scrambling to twist the narrative, but Cassie, she's not backing down. So during cross-examination, Diddy's lawyers came in hot with a whole folder of old text messages, trying to paint the picture that everything between him and Cassie was sweet after they broke up. They started reading out the messages from 2019, like, "Sending you love and light. Hope you're well. Congratulations, Cass. You're gonna make a beautiful mother. What a difference a year makes. Sending love. You were there for me through everything. You're the greatest woman in the world. My ride or die, always." Yeah, Diddy was laying it on thick. He even said he'd been reflecting and told her God had been watching over them. When Cassie had her first child, he texted her that he was happy she found her husband and added, "I send this message with all respect to your marriage." But Cassie didn't ignore him. She replied, "I wouldn't have been at this beautiful point in my life without having been with you." She admitted on the stand that he was finally saying the kinds of things she had wanted to hear from him for years. And in those messages, they talked about sitting down to find closure.
But the singer's road to domestic bliss wasn't an easy one. Cassie was first romantically linked to Diddy in 2007. They later went public with their relationship in 2012, but split 6 years later. In November 2023, Cassie made headlines when she filed a lawsuit against the rapper, alleging Diddy had subjected her to years of during their relationship.
At one point, Cassie texted something that really stood out. "The things you said blew my mind a little bit. It was emotional, raw, and yeah, complicated." But don't get it twisted. Diddy's team tried to use these messages to say, look, she still cared. She wasn't traumatized. But the prosecutors? Oh, they weren't letting that narrative slide. Just as cross-examination ended, the defense brought up some 2012 texts between Cassie and Diddy where he asked her, "Want to freak off one last time tonight?" She clapped back with a "what?" And he hit her with, "You don't know how to read." Classy. But here's the part that matters. Cassie replied, "I don't want to freak off for our last time. I want it to be the first time for the rest of our lives." Sounds poetic, but when you peel back the layers, it's a woman trying to redirect something toxic into something hopeful. Then during redirect, the prosecutors zoomed in on that same conversation, but highlighted what Cassie was really feeling. In another part of the thread, she texted that she had a UTI and followed it up with, "I don't want to do one last time. I don't want to at all." When asked what she meant, she made it clear. She was talking about freak-offs. And just like that, the idea that she was all in, gone. But here's the truth. Just because someone sends a soft text or tries to find peace doesn't mean the past didn't hurt. And just because you're polite doesn't mean you consent.
Especially, after seeing a bunch of text messages that were either about, them being in love together, or the explicit messages that were talked about ad nauseum today. But that was kind of the mood and the atmosphere as far as kind of what's going down here at the federal courthouse. Cassie was talking about, Diddy had sent a message to Cassie saying, "I'm so for you." Cassie had responded, "You are? What made you feel that way?" And these text messages were sent after the physical that happened at the Intercontinental Hotel. Cassie had responded, "LOL, true." And I'm kind of paraphrasing these text messages because they went by so fast. And then Diddy had responded to Cassie, "What are you doing?" And Cassie later sent a text message essentially saying, "I love you." And so I think that what the defense was trying to do there is just insinuate that even after this brutal and that happened, that they just kind of went back to their normal pattern of just saying "I love you" to one another, kind of putting a Band-Aid over the situation. But still, it wasn't a situation where she had called things off completely or anything like that. Then Cassie was asked about the photos that she had took of her face after the and Cassie said she actually didn't remember taking those photos.
This isn't a love story, it's a survival story, and that's the real tea. Now, this part about Cassie's journey, it's about the healing, and how messy, complicated, and brave that road can be. In 2024, Cassie entered Willow House, a rehab center in Arizona, for a 45-day recovery program. No phone, no distractions. She hadn't planned to write a book, but while there, something shifted, and she started writing. She also revealed she's been taking buprenorphine since 2022 for opiate addiction, something she chose to share openly.
And Cassie sharing this message: "Thank you to everyone that has taken this matter seriously. My only ask is that everyone open your heart to believing victims the first time. This healing journey is never ending, but this support means everything to me."
While the center treats intimacy and love addiction, Cassie said her focus was trauma. She did neurofeedback therapy about once a week, using a device to calm brain activity. She also went through EMDR, a trauma therapy that helps process painful memories. Cassie described it as reimagining herself walking out of a room she once felt trapped in.
At the end of the day, if you made the decisions you made them, and they don't define you.
Yeah, Cassie's journey has brought her to a happier place than ever, finding peace with her family. Cassie and her hubby, personal trainer Alex Fine, met in 2018 and went Instagram official that December.
As cheesy as it sounds, I really love a sense of humor. Somebody that can make me laugh all day beats out any look or anything. If we can laugh together, that's the best thing.
And here's where things got especially tense in the courtroom, because now we're talking about timelines, text receipts, and whether Cassie's memory of the most traumatic moment in her story was being questioned or weaponized.
Her account included graphic details of alleged abuse, rape, and coercion. But the defense, particularly today, pushed back with texts, audio, and claimed she was a willing participant in their so-called freak-offs. But that's not all. We even learned more today about what was inside Diddy's hotel room and heard striking testimony from Dawn Richard. I'm going to be breaking down what happened in today's courtroom with Elizabeth Milner, Law and Crimes reporter, who was inside to hear and see it all. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. Well, after 4 days of harrowing testimony, Cassandra Ventura has finally stepped down from the witness stand in Sean Diddy Combs' federal racketeering trial. And her account that spanned allegations of rape, coercion, alleged freak-offs, even this purported $20 million settlement, this painted quite a picture of their decades-long relationship. And it gives the jury a lot to think about. And I gotta say, I think it made this case a whole lot grayer, particularly after the cross-examination. So we're gonna break down everything that we learned from today's proceedings, day 5.
So, the defense? They were digging into the timeline of Cassie's forced intimacy allegations against Diddy. They pulled up a text from August 21st, 2018, where Diddy messaged Cassie saying, "I know I look bad to you. I didn't turn you on yesterday. I fell off." That alone, creepy. But when Diddy's lawyer asked her, You saw Mr. Combs the day before this message, implying maybe it wasn't forced, or maybe it didn't happen at all. A few days later, Cassie had replied, "I'm so heartbroken," and Diddy responded with, "Me too, have a good night." So what was the defense trying to do here? They were painting the picture that this was just a breakup, a sad mutual thing. But that's not what Cassie described. According to her earlier conversations with prosecutors, the alleged forced encounter happened after a dinner with Diddy where she said he was acting off, anxious, twitchy, not himself. She said it felt like he wasn't in his right mind because when she told him to stop, he didn't. Now, the defense tried to jump on that too. They said Cassie originally said the essay happened after Burning Man, which would have been September 2018. But more recently, she told prosecutors it happened in August 2018. So now they're trying to spin that like her story's not consistent. But let's be honest, trauma doesn't come with timestamps. Cassie stood firm about what she remembered. She said they had dinner at an Italian restaurant before the incident, and when asked if she remembered putting in her civil suit that Diddy forced his way into her home, she admitted she wasn't sure she'd worded it exactly like that. She was just trying to survive it. And now, explain it. Then came the emotional gut punch. The defense asked Cassie if she ever wondered whether Diddy was having a bipolar episode during the essay. She said yeah, she did wonder, because his behavior was that erratic. They even pressed her about how she felt about Diddy back then. Her answer? There were still feelings there. But now, Cassie, steady and composed, said, "I don't hate him." She added, "I have love for the past and what it was." So listen, that right there, that's not weakness. That's someone separating the person they thought they loved from the person who hurt them. This isn't just about memory gaps or emotional contradictions. It's about someone trying to explain the unexplainable while being cross-examined by people who weren't there. So that's just the latest in the Diddy courtroom chaos. If you're as shook as we are, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more piping hot updates. We're watching it all so you don't have to. See you in the next spill.